small group. Actually, this will probably be hopefully really helpful because you can just ask me and direct as we go through this experience. You can kind of tell me, can you go back to that? Can you, you can ask questions as we go. It's harder with a bigger group. So both of you, please feel free to stop me and ask questions as we go. So my name is Corey, and I am the curriculum director at STEM Education Works. And this is Christine, and she's the president of our company. In this month's webinar, we do a monthly webinar about dealing with educational technology and curriculum, and we have a different focus each month. Often they are, whoever attended the last month will send me a request for, hey, can you touch on this topic? So it's very audience driven. So if you have ideas and you'd like to touch on something, please let me know and I'll be happy to incorporate that. Just as a quick background, I was in education for 25 years. I was a school librarian and a middle school teacher. So love teaching, love middle school. It's my heart. I love absolutely everything about it. And I'm also an adjunct faculty member at Indiana Wesleyan. And I think both of you are new, right? Frank, I don't think you were you here last time? I don't feel like I've met you before.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and then Shin, I don't think I've met you either, but I know Kara. There's Kara. Hi, Kara. Good to see you. We're just getting started, Kara, so you didn't miss anything yet. We're just saying hello. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, last month, we focused on littleBits, like actually using them in pieces and putting them together. So the actual physical part of littleBits, and we looked at the Fuse app from kind of the student perspective. But today I'm going to take you in the back part of it and show you the teacher version. Now, Frank and, well, Kara, I know you've done this, but Frank, have you ever used, or Shin, have you used the Sphero classroom or the Tinkercad classroom? Do you have any experience with that? Okay, so this is really similar. Did you get to play around at all with the Fuse classroom, or will this be the first time?
I didn't know they had a class. I didn't know. That's kind of why it piqued my curiosity when I saw the littleBits Fuse. I didn't know if it was an online portal for using littleBits and testing them out virtually, or if it's just a teacher dashboard for managing. Oh, okay.
Both. Yeah. So last month we went into the actual kid version, like the virtual version of littleBits. So if you want to go back, if you want that recording, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Hi, Lawrence. Nice to see you.
Hi.
But today we're going to be focused more on the teacher portion, but you'll see that student version too as I'm running through it. So feel free to stop me. And again, I'll be happy to send you the recording from last month. Okay, so we're going to be going into the littleBits teacher dashboard, and the littleBits virtual world is called Fuse. So to get to it, and now you are welcome to work alongside of me, or if it's easier for you all just to listen and then go back and do it on your own in your own timing, either one is fine with me. But to get to the teacher portion of the online littleBits program, you're going to go to classroom.littlebits.com/login, and I will put that in the chat as well if you're trying to follow along. Give me 1 second. Okay, Kara, just remind me of that. I just saw your note. If I don't remember and send it to you this afternoon, remind me. Okay, I just put that in the chat if you missed the website, but it is classroom.littlebits.com/login. So unfortunately, I don't know why littleBits does this, but they make it a little bit tricky to find. You can't just find the classroom on the main littleBits website, or even if you go to the littleBits ED, like the littleBits education portion. So you're going to have to bookmark the site so that you can get to it easily. So what you'll need to do is go ahead and sign up for an account. It's down at the bottom of the screen where it says don't have an account, sign up. And I'm just going to click into it so you can see what it looks like. I'm also going to put in a little note here. I should have said this at the beginning. I've tried this in several different browsers. For some reason, it does not like Chrome. It works, but it's like it's a little wonky in Chrome. I've had a lot better luck working in Firefox than I did Chrome. So not to say it doesn't work, it does work. I just got super annoyed by some of the images not showing up properly in Chrome. So I just want to give you a heads up. It works. It's just not as nice in Chrome as it. I don't know why. That's weird. All right, so if you're creating an account, you'll use your school email. And this is really important because I tried to use a personal email and I tried to use my work email. And because mine isn't coming from a school that didn't work because they validate. So make sure you use your school account. And I'm going to sign in, and because I have a school account through the university where I work, I use that one, and I'm going to sign in. And remember, if it's moving too fast, you will have access to the recording, so you can always join up again later. All right, so I'm signed in, and up at the top right of the screen, you'll see the word account. And again, they do not make this super obvious or super visible, but under account, you'll find my dashboard. And this is where you'll get to the teacher portion of littleBits. So again, I've logged in, up at the top right, account, and I'm going to my dashboard. And it's not fast either, if you noticed, but here we go. So why would you even use the littleBits classroom? Well, there are a lot of third-party apps out there that you're probably already using to keep track of student work. So maybe you use Seesaw, or maybe you use Schoology or Canvas or something like that. And that's great. You know, like Schoology has a built-in portfolio, but it doesn't let you interact with the student work itself. So if you're looking for something native to the technology, like you would for Tinkercad Classroom or for Sphero Classroom, this makes it easier for you to interact with the student's work, as opposed to having to see it kind of in the next phase, like after it's already completed. So this is the dashboard, and it's pretty straightforward. What you're going to do at the top is you're going to add your class right here at the top. It says add class name. Now it may ask you, I can't take away the organization anymore. So I think you had to first add your organization. I just can't back out of it to start from scratch, but it's probably going to ask you your organization first. And I had to type in my school, and then you're going to add your class name. So I'm just going to call this one STEM Sample 1, and I'm going to give it a grade level. So I'm going to say that this STEM Sample 1 course is first grade, and I'm going to add the course. And that's really all there is to adding classes. So when I was teaching, I was a librarian, and I had those 4 grade levels with 2 ELA teachers each. So I had like 10 or 12 classes. I would definitely want to have a different class here for each group of my students. So kind of depends on how many students you teach and how you're set up. But I would probably have a different class for each group of your students, as opposed to, like, if you're the art teacher and you have 300 students, you probably don't want one class with 300 students, if that makes sense. So once you add your class, you're going to go over here to the side where it says go to class, and you'll click into go to class. And a couple of things will pop up right away that are really important. So here's your class name. Remember, I called it STEM Sample 1. Here's the grade level that you assigned to it. But this is the really important part. So you'll get an access code, a Fuse access code. This is what your students will use to get into your classroom. Now, they can set up accounts like you just set up an account, or are going to set up an account. But especially for littles, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, that's really tricky. Middle schoolers probably wouldn't have as much trouble, but if you have a code, I mean, if you've used any app or any program, you know, it's a lot easier to get the kids in with a code. So here's your code, but littleBits adds one more step. So if you've ever used, it's the online book, Epic Books, they have like a second layer of security where the kids have to identify a picture. They do this in littleBits too. So for this particular class, the Fuse access bit is the LED matrix square, okay? Which doesn't probably make a lot of sense right now, but in just a minute, I'm going to show you the student side. You'll see what I mean. So we have our access code, and we have this little picture that they're going to have to identify when they try to log in. If you get to a point at the end of the year or at the end of the quarter, this is where you remove the class if you don't want to have a giant list of classes. They don't have an archive feature yet, but they do have a remove class. So that's where you would do that. Then down at the bottom, it's very simple. There's not much to add. If you've ever used the Sphero app, it can take quite some time to add your library in, but with littleBits, you literally put the student's first name and last initial. So I'm going to just make up a name, and I'm going to add a student to the roster, and then I'll add another one. And your students show up right there under your class. So this is what the dashboard looks like for one particular class. So if you have multiple classes, you'd have to click into each class and you'd have your list of students after you've added them. Okay, So what I'm going to do right now is jump over and show you what the student side looks like. So this is what you've created in the student or in the teacher dashboard. I'm going to jump over. Here's that workspace. And Frank, you had asked about what does the workspace look like? This is what it looks like. So, and I'm going to actually create a sample circuit on here in just a minute so you can see what it does. But this is what the students would be working in. So when the students are ready to sign in, they're going to go to fuse.littlebits.com/builder, and I'll put that right in the chat for you. Hopefully it pops up. There it goes. fuse.littlebits.com/builder. This is the workspace. Now, if you don't have really any interest in saving your students' work, you don't have to set up a classroom. You can just let them work, and they can either, take a screenshot of the page, or you can come and look at them. But if you want to be able to keep track of what they're doing over a period of time, this is the best way to do it, is to set it up as a classroom. So up at the top right, there's a little hamburger icon, and we're going to log in. And if you wanted to work in a workspace without your students, you would just click I am teacher, but we're going to act like we're students right now. I am a student. Here's that access code. So I'm going to jump back over, and I'll never remember this in one setting, but K2R1J8. K2R1J8. So the students will type in their access code, and then you'll select next to provide an access bit, and here's that picture. So it's like a second layer of security. So the kids can't just have that access code. They also need to know what that access bit was. So our access bit is going to be, or at least for my course, yours will come up, it randomizes. Mine is the LED matrix. So here's my student view. Here's that LED matrix. Then they're going to select their name from a roster. So I'm going to say, my name is John. And then they'll just verify that they're signing in. So the student is now signed in. And the reason, again, that this is important is now you can see their work. If they don't log in, they can still use the space, but they won't be able to save their work, and they won't be able to load work they've used in the past. So that's why it's important if you set up the classroom to give them that code. All right. So I'm going to show you very quickly what it would look like from the teacher side after students done some work. So just like if you have a kit in front of you and you've got your little bits, and if you were with me last month, you saw this, they have it set up just like the actual little bits, the blue bits, the pink bits, the green bits, and the orange bits. And I'm going to grab a power bit, because you always have to start with power, and drag it onto the space. And I'm just going to make a very simple circuit right now. I'm going to grab the input, and my favorite input is always the button. And I'm going to click it onto my power. And you should hear it click. Did you hear that click? That means that it is actually connected. Otherwise, like if they don't put it close enough, there's too much space, it won't work. So you want to make sure it clicks. And then for my output, I'm just going to grab the long LED. And I'm going to drop it over here at the end of my input. And it did not click. There it goes. Now here's one little trick if you missed last month. You have to turn the simulation on for this to work. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there. So I turn the simulation on, and then I press the power or the button, and there goes the LED. So it works just like littleBits, but it's a virtual. Okay, so this is the work that the student's doing. I'm pretending that I'm a student. One more thing, and I don't know if I covered this last time, but over on the right, there's this little green tab that says Notebook, and it's like an engineering design journal. So if you want your students to be reflecting on what they're doing, or if you want them to put a question in there that they have to answer, you can have them do that and save it, and you can access their answers from the classroom that we were building. So that's kind of a neat feature too, is that you can't necessarily interact with what they've written, which is a weakness, but you can at least see what they're thinking. You can follow their thought process. All right, so I'll close that back up. And I am going to save. Now here's a teaching trick for you, and you'll see it when it comes through the teaching side, the teacher side, the dashboard. I would have the students put the date and like the class period, whatever you use to differentiate your students, so it's really easy to find, and their name. I don't remember who I signed in as. There we go. Then they're going to save it. It says it's saved. Now they can also, if they logged out and logged back in, they could load. When they hit load, anything they've saved pops up right there in their workspace. So it comes up kind of like a drive folder. All right, I'm going to jump back over to the teaching side. All right, here's my class. All right, so what I did here was, hang on, let me go back here. I want to click into my, what did I call it? December STEM class, is that what I called it? I think so, go to class. That's not it, that's the wrong students. I'm sorry, give me a second to find the class I created. Anybody remember the name of the class I created? STEM Sample 1, wasn't that it? STEM Sample 1?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, there. Sorry, I forgot which class I created. I've done this so many times. All right, so I clicked into my class, there's my students, and I'm going to select workspaces. Personal is anything you've worked on. So if you were logged into that workspace over here as a teacher and you had work going that maybe you wanted to show students, that would go under personal. But then when I click on student, now I have my different classes, the different students, and the names. This is why I said you might want to have your students put pretty identifying information on that file name, because it all comes up in a big list. So here's the student that just posted. Here's John A. There's the file. When I select it, it'll open up and it will actually show you whatever the student was working on. So it gives you a couple of different ways you can look at it. The topology is cool if you want to show students the flow of electricity throughout the circuit. So you can move that around and show them how it is. See, it'll show you which direction it's flowing. And then the schematic will actually show you, although right now it hasn't loaded yet. Hang on, let me refresh. It'll actually show you exactly what the student put on their board. So that little simple circuit that I just created will pop up right there. Go back. It took a few minutes last time I tried this for it to pop up. Okay, well, it will pop up there. That same circuit like this will be right there, so you can see exactly what they created. And then if they're using the block code portion of Fuse, their block code will pop up here. So if you have the code kit and you're working on block coding with kids, their block code will post here. And then any notes they took in that notebook will show up right here. So again, it's not as interactive as the Sphero classroom or the Tinkercad classroom, but it is a good way to keep all of their work in one place so that you don't have to have them sending you screenshots or you have to go in one at a time and look at each student's work. It will all be listed here in the classroom. So I'm gonna go back to class management. There's my classes. And I'm gonna try one more time because I really want you to see that. Let's see if I can do it here. Yeah, there it goes. So there's what the circuit looks like, that simple circuit that I built. You can see it from the teacher side. This is what the kid had done. And there's that topology. And then if we were working on code and notes. And that is really it for the teacher side of Fuse. I did want to share with you just a couple other things that are available to you in the teacher resource area for littleBits. If you're signed in as a teacher, up at the top, you'll see resources. And this is one of my very favorite things. If you haven't found it yet, it's the Bitopedia. And again, in Chrome, it doesn't work super well. A lot of the images are broken. I don't know why, but it looks great in Firefox. So if you go into Bitopedia, it will show you every single little bit available. It will tell you its title and its number, and if it's an input, output, or wire, or power. But then if you click into it, so let's see, what's a good one to look at? Let's go into the bright LED. If you click into it, they'll give you all kinds of information about that bit. So sometimes there will be videos where they actually unbox it and show you the bit. Sometimes it's schematics. They'll have a definition of it, a description. Then they'll give you real world examples, which is really cool. In fact, I don't like this one. I'm going to go back to the bar graph because I looked at it earlier today and I thought it was really cool. Yeah, so here's one where they actually have a video where they show you exactly what the bar graph does. And then it's got all kinds of pictures and illustrations and things for the bar graph. And then when you come to real world examples, they have an example of the Ferris wheel and the music visualizer. And then if you want to get even a little deeper into what goes into the bar graph, it'll give you that information. So I really like the Bitopedia. I think it's great if you don't have like if you maybe aren't really sure about what some of the bits do. I think it's a great way for both you and your students to learn about those. There is actually a poster that comes with some of the kits that and I actually used to tape it up on the wall, but it doesn't give you all this information. Also under resources, there's educator tips. And if you haven't, whoops, I missed it. Hang on. If you haven't gone into that, this is an interesting one. This is like a community bulletin board kind of thing for littleBits. So this is not put out by littleBits. It's put out by the users of littleBits. And so it will give you ideas for, like, let's say you want to do differentiation across, different learner sets. So if you click into it, there's not a lot of information, but it's a teacher. This particular teacher is giving advice about how they differentiated using littleBits. So remember, it hasn't been vetted through littleBits, but it is good if you're just looking for some tips on specific ideas. So they have it divided up into assessment, classroom management, which is always interesting with any technology, getting started, storage and organization, that's another really popular one, troubleshooting. So these are tips from teachers to teachers. And then if you go over to explore, this is where you're going to find lessons and individual inventions that are created by littleBits staff. So these have been vetted, they're very specific. You can filter by, like if you want a complete lesson that has the entire lesson plan with objectives and assessment, then you would select lessons. If you just want a one and done invention, you can select by that as well. So like if you want to play hot potato of doom with the round LED matrix, that's not going to be a full lesson. It's just going to be an individual invention that the kids could build. But if you wanted to, here's a lesson. Let's see. They have a whole curriculum around specific kits. So fun stuff there, very, very detailed. If you're looking to, I've done kind of the basics in the little book that came with the kit. What do I do now with my littleBits? These are some great resources to use with littleBits. And that really takes us to the end of what I have. And we have just a couple more minutes. If anybody has questions, I can go back and show.
So is there a way for us to look at these units and these lessons and then assign them, or would we? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So in Sphero, yes, which you think they would also do in littleBits since they're the same company. In littleBits, no, but you could copy and paste it into your LMS. So if you wanted to do that's how I would do it. So I don't know why they didn't transfer that over to littleBits since they do that very easily in Sphero, but that's how I would do it, is I would copy and paste it into whatever LMS you're using. But they have your standards. And it looks like they're using NGSS. Yeah, they're using NGSS. And they have your objectives, the lesson guide. Some of them have extension ideas.
I mean, you could do the activity in your builder and then share the screen with them and have them try and build it.
Copy what you're doing,
Right.
And then have them maybe possibly come up with different ways to accomplish the same thing. Like you give them a starting model, and then can they do the same thing with different bits or with less bits or more bits? Yeah, right. That's a really good idea.
Or you could leave some bits out and say, I want to do this, and
I like that a lot. So that's great. I don't know. When I was in the classroom, this was really hard for me because I had the little activity cards, but I worked through them pretty quickly with my middle schoolers. So they didn't have this much, they didn't have as many lessons when I was using the littleBits with my middle school students. So I like that this is there now.
Yeah, it definitely gives you more activities to do.
Yes.
And it's all in one place rather than finding it on YouTube and different.
Yes. Bits and pieces of it. Absolutely. We also have littleBits curriculum. STEM Education Works has littleBits curriculum. If you're ever interested, definitely check that out on the website. But there's a good, just like Sphero, Sphero has some really good stuff on the website. littleBits has a lot of good lessons is available as well. Any other questions about littleBits Fuse? Okay, well, that takes us to the end of our half hour, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I know it was a small group, but sometimes that actually is more fun. Christine, did you have something? Did you want to say something?
I just was going to ask, is there any other topics that anybody would really like to see Dr. Hall to cover in a short, quick webinar like this in the future? We're always looking for ideas. Any technology, or it doesn't have to be littleBits or Sphero. It could be something else. If you have any, feel free to shoot us a message.
Please email me.
Yeah.
I promise if you email me, it will be probably the next session we do. So that's how it's gone in the past. So if you email me, I'll create a session around it. We tend to specialize in 3D printing, robotic arms, littleBits, Sphero, and microbit, but we can definitely expand out there too. So just let us know if there's something you're interested in. I've got some projects coming up in 2022 that we'll be doing together, like a Christmas in July project and some other things that you can then take and do right with your students as well.
Have you done microbits yet?
We have not done, we have them and we have I'm ready to do them. We just haven't done them yet. So we'll be doing those probably, actually, that's our first one in January. Christine and I were just talking about this. I think January is going to be a microbit session.
Are they easier to get hold of now? Or are they still difficult to buy?
We actually
Christine,
have them. We sell them in like a power pack. It comes with the cord, the batteries, the bundle. We have them with kits. I think we're probably one of the only companies in the country that has them.
Right. Yeah, they're almost. I have a friend who's still in the classroom, and she was getting them like one here, one there, like really just struggling to get a set for her classroom. So
send her our way.
I'll send her I'm going to send her your website right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Christine had this foresight that this was coming, that the shipping thing would be an issue, and she ordered very, very smartly. She ordered quite a few, so we've had them the whole time, which has been great that we can provide that for our customers. Any other thoughts or questions?
No, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. I'll be sending out the recording to everybody who registered, you all as well as everybody else that registered. And I'll also be sending out a certificate of completion. So if you're looking for, here in Pennsylvania, they're Act 80 credits, but PGPs or whatever it is that you need, I'll be sending that out. It'll have an hour on it so that you can use to send in for your credits. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon and a great holiday season.
Take care. Have a nice holidays, you too.